Hello everyone, this is Kat and welcome back to My Hero Academia Podfics. This will be the one-shot entitled Love Languages, I'm Not Here to Make Friends. Everyone welcome Shinsou Hitoshi to Class 1A, Aizawa announced dryly before crawling back into his sleeping bag and disappearing behind his desk. I'm not here to make friends, Shinsou said, and at that moment a lot of things happened at once. The self-proclaimed Deku Squad, Ida, Uraraka, Sue, and Todoroki all looked at each other with looks of varying amusement. The rest of 1A all shifted their glances to Midoriya. He would have noticed if he wasn't distracted grabbing his notebook. It was too late for Shinsou. Midoriya had a plan. The inside of this notebook was labeled simply, Midoriya Izuku's Notes for Friendship. You wouldn't think that someone would need a notebook for friendship, but you wouldn't have met Midoriya. Having been rather new to this whole friendship thing, Kachan's not included. He did some, too much, research on the making and keeping of friends. His first discovery was love languages, 5 simple ideals to properly convey friendship on a person-to-person basis, and it took several trial and errors for him to work out the Deku Squad and eventually the whole class, but he got there. Shinsou gave Midoriya, Broken Arms of Friendship Izuku, a challenge. Uraraka's love language was discovered to be gifts, big or small, a little treat from a convenience store, or Todoroki using Endeavor's credit card to furnish her dorm room. This seemed to be a good place to start, so a week after Shinsou had joined 1A, Midoriya gave him a gift. Midoriya would have given the gift sooner, but it took him a bit to figure out what Shinsou likes. Midoriya didn't think giving it during class would make his quiet classmate very happy, so he decided on waiting for a quieter moment in the dorms. It was late afternoon on Saturday that Midoriya saw Shinsou sitting in the common room alone, playing with his phone on the couch. He'd walked toward him, pulling out a little box from his backpack. Shinsou? Midoriya called, getting his attention. Shinsou looked up from his phone, startled when a box was shoved into his hands. I got you something I thought you would like, Midoriya said, answering the baffled look on Shinsou's face. Shinsou took it cautiously. Briefly glancing around the room, he wiggled the cover of the box off and pulled out a keychain. He held it up to see a small black and purple cat design. Thanks, Shinsou said, blinking a few times at the cat and then back at Midoriya. I have to go. He tucked the box in his bag before standing up and sidestepping Midoriya, quickly walking out of the room. Midoriya was unsure if keeping the gift but running away meant that he liked it or not. Ida's love language was easy to figure out, acts of service. Midoriya tried that next. For the next week, Midoriya subtly helped Shinsou with things. He held the classroom door for him, picked up his pen when he had dropped it from his study table, offered to share his notes after he'd sprained his wrist during the practice that week. By Friday, Midoriya concluded by the number of scowls that Shinsou's love language was not acts of service. Sue's love language wasn't something that he figured out, because after about 2 days of attempts, she just quietly told him that she liked quality time. He didn't think that Shinsou would be as forthcoming after a talk with Aizawa about getting a chaperone to leave campus, which for some reason he was quick to agree and volunteer for. Izuku had a plan. Shinsou, can I ask you something? Midoriya asked after class that day. Yeah, Shinsou said, not suspicious at all. Want to go to a cat cafe with me? Shinsou wasn't expecting that question at all. Sure, whatever, Shinsou replied, not excited at all. Great, Aizawa-sensei agreed to be the chaperone, Midoriya said excitedly and started to walk with Shinsou toward the gate. Oh, Aizawa-sensei just volunteered himself, I bet, Shinsou said, trying not to smirk. Yeah, how did you guess? Shinsou was about to reply when Aizawa walked up to them, pausing slightly when he saw Shinsou. So, you're the one going with Midoriya? He asked, not at all hiding his amusement in his capture weapon. Yeah, it's a cat cafe, Shinsou said flatly, trying not to give away his excitement. By Aizawa's raised eyebrow, he'd failed. He raised an eyebrow back in defiance. It ended up being a draw. Midoriya was confused. At the cafe, they sat in a booth toward the back while Aizawa sat by the door. Being incredibly awkward teenagers, they spent a few minutes trying not to stare at each other in silence until they were graced with some cats. With a socially acceptable reason not to make eye contact, they started a stilted conversation while focusing very intently on the cats. So, this one's name is Pebbles, that's cute, Midoriya commented as the gray cat tried to become one with his lap. Mine's name is Barcode, Shinsou said, petting a black and white cat that had crawled onto his shoulder. Barcode? Midoriya asked. Yep, Barcode. A barista came over, so they didn't have to move the cats and set down a drink menu. I'll have the cappuccino, Shinsou said, with a light smile. I'll have the caramel macchiato, Midoriya said, grinning at Shinsou, who tried and failed to drop his smile when Barcode had nudged his cheek. As the barista had walked away, Shinsou glanced toward the door, before surprising Midoriya with a small laugh. He looked to see what was so funny, and spotted their teacher, covered head to toe in cats, napping. Employing all of his stealth training, Shinsou had gotten up, taken Barcode with him, and crept closer to Aizawa. About 5 feet away, he took out his phone and snapped a picture which caused Barcode to meow softly, like a traitor. He saw Aizawa's eye twitch and quickly made his way back to Midoriya. Stifling their giggles, Shinsou and Midoriya spent several minutes just grinning at each other, almost settling down before another giggle would escape and they would start all over again. They stopped when the barista brought them their drinks. They somehow ended up having a talk about underground heroes while drinking their coffee. You know about Nightbolt? Shinsou asked. Of course, they're totally underrated on the forums, but they definitely help lower the crime rates in their patrol area. Aizawa, not actually being asleep, he knew to be ready for anything but the problem child, got to overhear the snippets of debate. What do you mean? Al was a rescue hero for 4 years before going underground. Of course she worked with 13 during the flood, Midoriya said, almost standing up, waving his arms at Shinsou. But that doesn't mean that they're dating, Shinsou replied calmly. But the person 13 was spotted with at the Hero Gala has the same gait as Al in the Al versus Bowler fight, Midoriya said, pulling a tablet out of nowhere. There was a pause before Shinsou said, Huh, I think you're right. Soon their coffee was finished and several more cats were pet before Aizawa made his way over to them. All right, time to go, he said before he turned to walk toward the door. Sensei, your capture weapon is wiggling, Midoriya said, trying not to laugh. Aizawa calmly, and definitely without an extra snuggle, removed a kitten from his scarf and placed it on a cat tree. He also did not sigh wistfully while muttering about too many cats already. At the entrance, Aizawa left them, so Midoriya and Shinsou had walked back together. About halfway back, Shinsou sighed and turned to Midoriya. Okay, I've been wooed, but you have to be more subtle during class or I'm going to die of embarrassment. Woo? Embarrassment? Midoriya asked, confused. Yeah, you got me the gift and did all the romantic door opening and stuff, but I'm not one for PDA, so I'm glad that you had our date out of UA, Shinsou said, with the same sort of scowl he had earlier in the week, and Midoriya was close enough to see a blush on his face. Oh. It clicked for Midoriya that a lot of the websites he researched did say things about significant others, but after Uraraka liked her gifts so much, he figured it worked just fine for friends. It worked for all of his friends, but he also didn't do them all in a row. With everyone else, he just did things as they came up, or noted when others did them. Midoriya was going to do the same with Shinsou, but he wanted to repeat the shunned, not quite a smile look that he had when he got the cat keychain. He thought he failed with the acts of service, but Midoriya realized that's just his embarrassed face. Oh. Shinsou was kind of staring at him uneasily now, and so Midoriya did what any rational and smart teenage boy would do. He panicked, turned bright red, and grabbed Shinsou's hand. Shinsou looked at their hands, then back at Midoriya, then back at their hands before squeezing them more firmly together. Oh. Midoriya grinned and started their walk back to the dorms, dragging Shinsou along. I'll let go at the door. It's not PDA then, right? No, this is perfect, Midoriya, Shinsou said happily, and Midoriya began to remember the last 2 love languages, physical touch and words of affirmation. Call me Izuku, he said. Hitoshi replied. All right, everyone. This concludes the short one-shot entitled Love Languages, I'm Not Here to Make Friends. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I love fics like this, especially with Midoriya just having a notebook for everything. Let me know your all's thoughts and reactions, and as always, thank you so much for listening.